So the biggest question that people have is who is making this soundtrack? Finishing Move, it's a group of about 4 people, and I've already seen comments on Reddit saying, oh, it's going to take 4 people to do what one person did. It's not going to be award-winning, and we'll get to that. Now, we notice they're going from contractor to corporate, right? I mean, Finishing Move is doing the soundtrack for Microsoft Flight Sim this year, Borderlands, Halo games, and the Flight Sim is in the same production and the same time as Dark Ages. That's a lot of variety and talent. Should they stick in one lane? Well, it sounds like that they have experience in a lot of areas, and given that there was some recent drama, you could say, with the Mick Gordon situation, maybe they wanted to move away from doing the individual contractor, like a sole proprietor type of thing, and more toward a corporate entity or a business that has a range of folks that are just knowing that they do soundtracks as their band, which is kind of like a session musician in a way. So there's a lot of concerns that people have about if, basically outsourcing in a way, but it's not really outsourcing, and we'll talk more about that. But a lot of people are concerned about no Mick and no Doom. Here's the thing, look, there's been so many flavors of Doom over the years. You got Bobby Prince doing the classics, Aubrey Hodges with the dark, brooding, even Joshua Richardson, Mighty Doom's composer. I mean, you have other folks that have the Doom style with Andy Strider, Jeffrey Day. So there's lots of flavors of Doom. I don't think people are really denying that. I think what people are concerned about is that, hey, this flavor of Doom that I like, whether it's chocolate, vanilla, cookies and cream, which is undoubtedly the best, I'm right there, is that mixed flavor of Doom is what we've come to know. And then for the DLCs, Andrew and David as well. They're afraid that this new group, Finishing Move, won't have that same doomy touch. Now, some people are saying like, hey, it sounds good. I love this stuff. And, well, some people are saying it might not be as memorable. What about classic Doom references? There's a lot of questions and things I'm going to go about and talk about today. Now, we know that there were a lot of strange instruments used in the past with Mick and the company, and we don't know if Finishing Move has those. We just haven't heard enough to be able to make that judgment. I do like some things that Finishing Move is bringing forth that I would like to see. Talk more about that too. But we've had Mick use a chainsaw, a lawnmower. David Levy from Tag used an electric toothbrush. The UAC Atlantica bass lines emulate the waves of the ocean, which is a really cool touch. I mean, Mick even used a congling. If you're not familiar with what that is an Eastern instrument that is typically made from wood. He used it on the Exultia ambient track. However, real conglings are made of human leg bones, femurs. So I wanted to know, did Mick Gordon use wood or did he use a human's bone to make the instrument that was played on Doom Eternal that you and I heard? His email did confirm. It is human. It is not wood. So we have these very metal things that are brought forth by Mick and company that really just give it that extra touch, right? That really makes it stand out, and it's a nice call back to those classics and different creative ways to make a soundtrack. Put a lot of love behind it. You can really tell that they had a passion for Doom and what they did when they made those soundtracks. Now, the history, when we go back through the years, Mick was so creative, bringing in references and building things. I mean, you look at him, he put a Jesus Loves You message into the Cyberdemon track. He sketched out a pentagram from a circle of fifths in that all the notes that were used in the track connected to make that shape. All these I've done videos on as well. And he's got a lot of crazy things he's put into the soundtrack that you would not realize. I believe it was Andrew who pointed out, maybe he did it, that there was a city soundtrack in the maybe Into Sandy City type music, basically saying that there's a lot of different things that were put into the tracks under the hood that when you find out, you're like, that was in front of me the whole time, and I didn't even know it. Andrew with his IDKFA, he's been making Doom music for years and years and years and years, and he even got brought on to do Tag. David has movie score experience, pure adrenaline. If you heard the studio mixes that he released of Imora, and they are just beyond comprehension. The game rips were beautiful. You know what I mean? I mean, they're great tracks. When you heard the full studio, which had nothing held back as far as the mix goes, that didn't need to be meshed in with the game, that's something else, man. It's something else. Now, like I said, Finishing Move does have a very good track record, and from what they have put out that we've heard with the trailer music, it slaps, it jams, it's really good, and it can get you into the motion. But like I said, there are some comments that stand out as to what to think about it. Now, when we talk about the music meshing with the sound, what Mick did that was really cool in Eternal was that the sound doesn't clash with the music. Each sound and music occupies its own sonic space. So what I mean by that is each sound and music gives room to breathe. An example of where this did not happen, if you remember back, was the BFG Division remake for Doom Eternal in the Repertorium. So the guns are higher pitched noises, so the sounds in the music are lower, so they're not fighting for each other. The music has its own place that it's occupying, the sound has its own place it's occupying. As I wave my hands, you can't see it, and it all gives itself room to breathe. Now, we know that there are classic references like levels and enemies in the old soundtracks. They do exist in the new OST. It has been spotted on Reddit.
In Doom Eternal, you felt like a fighter jet. In Doom the Dark Ages, you'll be an iron tank. Heavy, strong, but still fast. A grounded combat system with an emphasis on power over the acrobatics of Doom Eternal.
That it does exist. We have a callback to the classic, so I don't know how many more that's going to be. It was everywhere. It was definitely fan service done right in the current older OSTs, but I think this is going to still be alive today, and I'm so glad to see that. I was really hoping we get some classic references, and it looks like that we just may get what I'm hoping for. I know this is a big thing for a lot of you as well, and this will be so exciting to see. The Easter eggs, we got to have those. I touched on those as well. Calling back, Doom 2016 Eternal, not the music. Easter eggs galore, calling back to the classics. Hugo Martin loves Doom 64. There's just so much room for the older fans like myself that grew up through the 90s playing the games to just hear what we heard back in the day modernized with a new flavor, a new flair. It is so cool. And the question also on everyone's mind, will Finishing Move have a metal choir? Will they go the extra mile in that regard? Because Mick didn't have to go that hard, but he did. He got musicians, flew them in. They had a whole set piece thing going on, and they just went crazy with this true metal choir and some of the Mongolian throat singing, just really crazy stuff that nobody else would think to do. Now, Chad Mossholder, the sound guy who helped make this Sentinel language and metal choir, let me back up. This is important if you're just like doing the dishes or whatever listening. Chad Mossholder is the main sound guy of Doom. He helped create the Sentinel language, the Karen took, and all those things that we hear, that Karen took the kids, as people say, and the metal choir. He helped orchestrate that, and he would be directing Finishing Move as the main sound guy for Doom, the Dark Ages. Do you see where I'm going with this? Not all hope is lost. If you're worried about this, I think those concerns can be alleviated in this way because you still have some of that core DNA in Doom that we have heard already from Finishing Move and that we have seen can be still present with Chad and however else they may bring forth this soundtrack. Now, we do have some community concern, and I understand. So, for example, Milky Cannon 444, let's see if he's right, says, everything we heard sounds fine, but it doesn't sound like the two award-winning soundtracks we got. Mick Gordon is iconic for a reason, and people like Hulshult and David Levy or this Finishing Move company can make some dope video game music, but they can't be Mick Gordon. It's unfortunate, but I'm still crazy excited, and I'm sure the music will be okay at worst, and who knows, maybe they surprise the heck out of everyone. Yeah, I think we really need to give them a chance because we've only heard such a limited sample that has been curated for this trailer, for this particular purpose, and it is not the game rips, we've not heard the studio mixes, we just haven't heard enough to make a full opinion to say. Heck, I didn't know there was classic references, and now I do. It's just there's not a lot of data to go by. Captain McKay Random has a super good point here. It says, my concern is that people will compare it to Mick Gordon's work rather than let it stand on its own merit. I don't remember much of that happening with the Ancient Gods, but I might have been lucky and not found that side of the internet. Yeah, actually when Andrew and David were making the tag soundtrack, they were told to basically stand on their own. Yeah, it's Doom, have that DNA, which originally was no guitarists back in the modern Doom, which is interesting, but they did stand on their own and they put their own footprint down, right? Well, I think that people are going to come in there with mix and say, mix, as it would be, and say, this guy's not Mick Gordon, or these people are different. And I know, we're used to it, but I do think that we do need to let them stand on their own and make their own mark on Doom before we give a full judgment completely. Cosmata Brad VA says, it's made by some career boys. I hate career boys. And another term for that could be a session musician. But in going back to the corporate versus contractor that I mentioned earlier, we still need to see these people could be Doom fans all their life. Now, I do understand that there is a concern that it might just sound generic, as some people have said. I've read the comments. But I think that given what we've heard so far, it's just not enough. It's a pretty good soundtrack, but I want to hear more and I want to know more. Decomposing Pete says, Mick Gordon's contribution was legendary, but as a man in his 30s, the electronic part sounded extremely like Australian electronic rock groups like Pendulum. Not quite gnarly enough to warrant a third go-around. New stuff sounds better for the setting, and that's with absolutely no shade whatsoever to Mick. Shame he kept missing deadlines. He shot himself in the foot doing that with a large corporate studio. Now, I'm not getting into the whole drama thing, but what I am going to get at is that the new stuff sounds better for the setting. This new group has used the Frisian mode I have heard in songs, the scale, to evoke this Egyptian feel for the places, for the soundtrack. And we see that we're going to be Egyptian settings and various other places that we've never been before, a much grander scale. And to be able to pull that emotion out musically is exactly what we're looking for. And that's another thing I want to be listening to as well. If it is something that pulls the emotion of the area, of the level we are playing, like the Exultia ambient, like Ark and Mars Core, and all the things we've heard. Symbol 1216, I think it'll be fine. I worry it won't be memorable. Mick's compositions had a personal stamp on them that really felt like his signature and helped give the first 2 reboot games more of a defined theme and style. That's the crux of it all, is all. We just want this to be a true, memorable soundtrack, and that's what folks are concerned for. But until we've heard the whole thing, it's really hard to make a full judgment on that. id Software knows that their music in Doom is pivotal. It is crucial, because if you give Doom fans crappy music, they're not going to like it. Mick Gordon said that angry Doom fans will burn your house down or something like that. But the point being is id knows they cannot screw up on the music, because it's such an integral part of the game, not only the game experience, but the old joke of this game comes with the album, or this album comes with a free game. So they know that they have to do it right, and they're trying to go with industry veterans, more or less, or with experience rather, to set that bar and lay it down straight. We also have new info on the new main villain, maybe, of the Dark Ages. Click the video here to see about Ozrak and what I've discovered, and with my friends. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.